this is Solomon of Solomonic Demons, and today we're gonna be talking about Bugera Amplification. Now, this doesn't gonna be a review in specific about the amplifier that I was playing in the intro, that it is my Bugera Vintage 55. What we're gonna be doing in this video is actually talking a little bit about the history of Bugera Amplification, the controversy about the reliability issues that this brand have, and also I'm gonna share with you guys my experience with the Bugera brand. So yeah, let's talk about first about the history of Bugera Amplification, and then at the end of the video we will talk about the rest. Bugera Amps is a division of Behringer. In the past, Behringer guitar amplifier combos and guitar cabinets were equipped with Bugera speakers. That's how the brand was introduced by Behringer, but it was in 2008 that Bugera Amps started showing up in magazine reviews and at industry conventions. There was a concern on early by musicians because these are Behringer products. Behringer that has always offered lower cost alternatives compared to other manufacturers of audio equipment. Until 2008, all the Behringer amps were solid state or digital modelers, so the idea of an all-tube guitar amplifier made by Behringer was something that really called the attention of a lot of guitar players by the time, because these amplifiers were really affordable like all the other products made by Behringer. Now, all the amplifiers that were introduced with the Bugera brand were cheap copies of more well-known amplifiers like PV and others. For example, the Bugera 1960s kit was based on a Marshall Plexi. The Bugera 1990s were based on a Marshall JCM 900. The Bugera 3-Reg was based on a Mesa dual rectifier, and the Bugera 6262 was based on a PV 6505. And this is just an example, because at the beginning they offer a lot of different models. And all or the majority of them were clones or very close copies of what they were trying to replicate. In fact, just by looking at the cosmetics designs of the models, you can see the influence in what each amplifier was based on. Now, the true big difference with the real amplifiers was the price, because depending what amplifier you were looking for, the Bugera version could cost you half, quarter, or a fraction of the price of what the real amplifier was sold for. And even if the amplifiers were cheap constructed and had a lot of reliability issues at the beginning, Behringer had a success with the introduction of the Bugera brand. In 2011, Bugera introduced the Infinium series of amplifiers. The Infinium series offered enhanced versions of all the amplifiers that they have available. These amplifiers not only supposed to be more reliable, the Infinium technology offers you the ability to swap your tubes without biasing. Also, when your tubes reach the end of the life, the Infinium system even tells you when a tube needed to be replaced, and it also compensates for the effect of aging, automatically adjusting the current levels to keep up your tubes sounding as good as when they were first installed. By the pass of the years, the Bugera amps have been a very good alternative compared with the original brands that they are based on, but it was after 2020 that slowly, Bugera had been shrinking their catalog of amplifiers. The prices of the Bugera amplifiers also have changed. They are not anymore the most affordable brand in the market. This and the reliability and reputation of the brand make the future of Bugera unpredictable. Alright guys, so that was the history of Bugera Amplification. Like I said, Bugera always had been a brand part of Behringer, and Behringer is even part of a bigger corporation that it is the Music Tribe. So this brand always had been part of this big corporation that is focused on accessible and affordable musical equipment, right? Bugera is Music Tribe trying to capitalize, trying to get a part of the share of the tube amplifier industry. Now, if I give you guys my opinion about Bugera, I remember that when I started looking for my first tube amplifier, the first brand that I actually started looking into it was Bugera, and this was obviously because of the price. This is, I think, back in 2012, and back then, honestly, for me, I was trying to achieve a very good tone, better of what I was able to get with my Line 6 Spider, because that was the only amplifier that I used to own. But I read so many bad reviews about these amplifiers, about the reliability issues that they have. I remember that I tried one on Guitar Center and it sounds phenomenal, but even the guy that used to work on the store told me that it will be better if I look something like a PV6505, and that's what I actually did. In fact, I waited a couple of years. I didn't buy the amplifier in 2012. I went all the way to 2015, and when the PV6505 image came out, actually that's the first amplifier, the first tube amplifier that I got. So all this bad reputation, in my case, made me take that decision to don't even try these amplifiers because they might don't last. Or in some cases, I hear and I read a lot that these might be fire hazard amplifiers, the same way that a lot of people said about the Crate Voodoo amplifiers, right? Later on, around 2019, when I was recording the third album of Solomonic Demons, that it was Encircled, I decided that I wasn't gonna use plugins anymore, and I actually was gonna track a tube amplifier. But where I used to live, in the apartment that I used to live, I couldn't record a amplifier because it was gonna be too loud. So the alternative that I was looking was a cheap load box, and the Bugera PS1 came out to me. You know that I still have it over here. It has been my load box since 2018. It's been 7 years and I never had encountered any issues with that. I still use it until these days. The mix that you guys hear in the intro was recorded with that, and I think that maybe the 99% of stuff that I have recorded in this channel have been going through my Bugera PS1. And for those that don't know, the Bugera PS1 is actually a clone, a copy of the Jet City Jet Generator, because not even that is an original design from Bugera. This is also a copy, right? But like I said, it has been reliable, and that's why I decided finally to get a Bugera amplifier. Now, in the case of my Bugera Vintage 55, I decided to buy the amplifier open box. And I bought it straight from the Adorama website, or adoramastore.com, and I paid for the amplifier less than $100 because in the description it said that the amplifier wasn't turning on, and in the pictures of the listing of Adorama I noticed that the amplifier was missing the fuse that goes all the way where you connect your power cable. And you know, when the amplifier got home, I put the fuse, the amplifier turned on, but the amplifier wasn't making any noise. Then I take apart the amplifier to see what really was going on with the amplifier. I realized that one of the power tubes actually wasn't working properly, and I also realized that this silicone that they used to seal the connections of the amplifier was getting liquefied when the amplifier was getting warm, and this silicone was getting into the sockets of the power tubes of the amplifier, and this might be the cause of why this tube got damaged. So after I replaced the tube, after I removed the majority of the silicone that was around the amplifier, because it was getting like gum, you know, when you guys show gum and you guys strip it around, if that's how this silicone was going around the entire amplifier, it was like spider webs of silicone. I cleaned all that. I removed the one that was really close to the connection of and the amplifier had been working great after that. Now, the second thing that I want to share is about the Infinium system that they have. The new tubes that I put on the amplifier that are a set of Tech tubes, it was just straight plug them in and I put the amplifier. I didn't have to do any bias, I didn't have to do anything. The amplifier started working immediately after that, and it has been working properly after that without any kind of issue, like I said. So my question it is, when this thing gonna fail, and if it fails, can I still use the amplifier? Can I do a manual biasing? I mean, the Infinium thing sounds so great on paper, but at the same time, it is kind of sketchy. I mean, it's just my opinion. If you guys want me to do a full review about the Bugera Vintage 55, please let me know in the comments. This was Solomon of Solomonic Demons. Thank you so much for watching this video. Take care and bye.